to my legendary co-host, Mr. Mark L. Christensen.
Great to be here, Daniel. I'm just getting a little bit of a cold, so I might be clearing my throat every now and then. And I'm so excited to talk about science today. And today's topic is maximum conscious growth.
Indeed. And I will call Mr. Mark as the fungi partner.
Fungus theory.
Oh, fungus
Fungus
theory
theory.
partner. Sorry. Fungus theory partner. So, Mr. Mark, what will be our topic for today?
It's called maximum conscious growth, or MCG is what I call it. Maximum
Mm,
conscious growth. And it's got a little bit of an explanation. It's actually physics and psychology together. It describes why we have a psychology, and probably that's what it's really all about.
mm, I like that. I like
So,
our topic for today, Mr. Mark. What is maximum conscious growth anyway?
well, it needs a little bit of an intro. So
Mm,
let's talk about what consciousness actually is. Consciousness is kind of a static state. We use it like a static state anyway. Like, okay, you're unconscious, or oh, you've regained consciousness. See,
yes.
so it's an off and on switch. That's how I like to look at it, and that's how fungus theory uses the term. And it's really good to identify with uh, that term that way, is because really what's going on is it's conscious growth. That's
Mm,
the reality of what's happening. So as soon as you become conscious again or regain consciousness, you're already growing consciously. So it's called, the right term is called conscious growth. And and what that is it's layers of information that your brain intakes. Like right now you're getting new information, so this is another layer of information that you're going to have on top of the layers that you've been laying all of your life. So the longer you live, the longer you educate yourself, or just any information at all, you're getting layers of information, which is literally conscious growth. It's that and experience. So if it's information you're not getting, and you go through an experience, you use the information you've previously got to add that experience as more information. So it's just layers of information called conscious growth. Okay, with that being said, any questions so far, Daniel?
well, go ahead, and then I will ask you later, Mr. Mark. Please.
Okay, all right, because I got to stop and check, because start pouring the bucket too quickly here. So we've established what consciousness is and what conscious growth really is, and and the product of the universe. So this is a bold statement, but what fungus theory has found out is that there's a product being made by the universe. And I know when you look at the stars and the planets and all this black holes, all this stuff going on, it's confusing. But this is a factory or a plantation that's growing a product. And that product actually is conscious growth. But you don't want to stop there and identifying with it. You want to understand that it's actually in the process of becoming the maximum that it can grow. So it's always been maximum conscious growth from the beginning. So the real term and the real product of the universe is maximum conscious growth. And once you understand what that is, then you understand what's going on. All of this craziness
Hmm.
about physics and your life, and each day adds to that. But to a growing consciousness, uh, it works both ways, as individual entities, and then the cultural collective consciousness works the same way, in the sense that the collective consciousness, which is every human on Earth, uh, helps humanity come to a higher understanding of what's going on from all the individuals' contributions of information. See, this is what's really, really neat about this, is that each individual has their own individual life. They go out, they experience things, they become more conscious, but only of certain things. So the collective conscious, the global collective conscious, needs everybody's input and layers of information to have a maximum conscious growth on the collective scale, which is really the true scale. And I'll explain to you why. So, for instance, you and me, we're very conscious, we're very aware. We go out, we work for our lives, and we get gratitude from achieving things. But it's only internal to us and our own experience. So I and you go out and gather this information, and we could pass away with it, and it would almost be a crime. It would be a crime against humanity that this information didn't go out and contribute to the collective, the global collective once again. So we as individuals gather our own information, and then we contribute to the collective, and that's really the body that you are anyway. So for you to be able to go collect your information and experiment and experience things, there already was a collective here for you to draw from, and then go out as an individual and then contribute to that in the end. And that is what I would call current day maximum conscious growth. Any questions yet?
Interesting, Mr. Mark. So, if growth is comfortable, is it probably not a maximum? How do you distinguish between productive growth inducing discomfort and mere suffering or burnout? What is the litmus test?
Well, there's a lot of statistics that show that most innovations
Mm.
and discoveries come from deprivation, countries that are involved in deprivation. So that deprivation causes an individual to become inspired and curious, and it's kind of a stimulus. But once that individual or that country is okay, and there's no stimuli going on, and they're not being deprived of anything, then there's no real, you know, inertia to go out there and experience things. There's less drive. So I would say deprivation is probably the fungal constant that drives humanity to go out and explore.
Interesting, Mr. Mark. So, one or our self perception is flawed. So let's talk about the feedback engine. If our self perception is flawed, how do you systematically build a perception correction that system that pulls in honest, constructive feedback from the world? How do you solicit it? And more importantly, how do you hear it without ego's interference?
I see. It's pretty complicated, but the answer is we need an ego. Uh, it's the thing about ego is that they're very expensive and embarrassing in the end.
True.
So it's a catch-22. You have to do it, and then you have to suffer from those things in the end. And are you willing to say, "This is me. This is what I'm going to challenge in the world. These are my ideas. Those things that your ego want to be fulfilled by expressing." And then suffer the consequences in the end. That's why every movie star, no matter how big they are, fall in the end, and they become human. Uh, they're no longer the god that you perceive them as, because that's a very egotistical place to be, and rightfully so. I'm glad we have movie stars, but
Hmm.
um, to me, be more specific about your question. The perception uh, of yourself, you know, being famous is another example of that. You know, there's your true self, and then there's the perspective that the skewed perspective that you develop from having so much fame and input. So that's a very difficult place for people who are famous. They have a hard time stabilizing their normal perspective of themselves, and then the view of themselves that everybody expects them to take. It's a struggling place. I kind of, I'm not famous, so I don't know, but I you know, I've worked around many famous people, and rock stars, and you can see it. It's a struggle. Um, and then your average person perspective on life. Your average person is just raising a family or building a career. Um, it's nice to be objective with yourself constantly. Check in with that self objectivity and social self objectivity to balance that perspective, so it doesn't go awry. You remain productive.
So, Mr. Mark, let's talk about cognitive flexibility training. Maximum growth requires the ability to hold contradictory ideas and update belief. What is the daily or weekly mental practices to actively stretch your cognitive flexibility and combat the rigid thinking?
Yeah, that question sounds like becoming dormant uh, rather than active with your ideas. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there is the threshold of human inspiration, and I think that's the true motivator that you have to have. And if you don't have it, you can certainly generate it, and it comes from higher values. So if you don't feel motivated and you haven't really achieved anything in your life, or if you feel like that thing, just stop and reevaluate where you're at, and that the value of your life is really 1 in 8 billion today, but it's it's a very rare place to be. So just reevaluate your existence today and see, put a higher value on that and what your abilities are, and then what you love is important. So put a high value on the things you love, and then dedicate yourself to that, and those values will bring you into a very productive, conscious state of mind.
Interesting, Mr. Mark. So, we all have stories about who we are. I'm not a math person. I'm bad at conflict. What are these process for identifying, challenging, and rewriting a core of limiting narrative that is copying or capping your growth potential?
Mm, it was a little bit of a complicated. Can you simplify the question?
Yes. So let's talk about the transcending fixed narrative. So most of the people, they having this limiting belief. I'm not a math person. I'm a
Mm.
bad at conflict. So they are limiting themselves that, oh, I'm not good enough for this because I don't like to do it because I'm lazy, or I don't like to do it because my brain is full of something else. So what is the process for identifying or challenging and rewriting the core limiting narrative of our brain for this
Oh, it's
cognitive?
maximum growth process.
Yes,
It's a very
maximum.
easy solution. Yeah. Your inner voice is your self esteem. Right away, you have to attack that in reality. The reality of you is not the poor self image that you're talking to yourself with. It's not the reality.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So it's up to you to be a truth seeker within your soul, and I want the truth, and prepare yourself for the truth about who you really are, and the things that are significant about your identity, um, and learn to just, you know, not mechanically talk positively to yourself, but at least invite the idea that you could start. See that it's too hard all at once, so you just start slowly. Could I talk more positively to myself about my abilities? And then answer the question. You'll say, I guess I could. So then that's a crack. It's a crack in that wall. And then you just sit there again and you think, well, what would I say? And then just think of one comment and then just start building on it. Pretty soon, you're now on the opposite habit. Now you're talking about all the things that could motivate you and things that are possible with truth in mind, because you can get out of hand too. You could possibly think you could fly, by just flapping your arms in the wing. So there's that other end of the scale. And there's nothing more rewarding than having achieved something that achieving anything. It's nothing more rewarding than that. And in fact, your dopamine system relies on that. So just talking to yourself, reevaluating yourself, valuing yourself, and then talking to yourself like you value yourself, like maybe somebody else would be talking to you that way in reality, and then you'll just change your whole life. You can defy other people's negative things. Um, there's you know things happen to people, and their lives become damaged. So they get in a funk, and then they don't want to see other people's inspiration rise. This happens a lot with teachers. They're great with their craft. They've earned it, but they don't want anybody to be inspired to be successful than them in the classroom. And I run into it all the time. Uh, so those people give you a narrative that because they're above you, those teachers or whoever your mentor is, they're above you, so you take it as gospel, what they're saying about you and what your limitations are, and so you adopt those. It's a safe home, and you get stuck in because you're in the world of unknown about yourself. But the thing is, you have to challenge that itself, and you can only do that from being inspired as a human being, and talking to yourself as positively as the first step.
Very well said, Mr. Mark. Very well said indeed. So Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it faith. How does MCG mandate engaging with your shadow, the denied parts of yourself, and what is the first step in that difficult work?
Uh, you're talking about the growth of the individual still, right?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Or the shadow work integration, which is, yes, goes together.
right. Um, well, pretending that you're capable of something,
Hmm.
even mechanically, will completely change the foundation of your capabilities of approaching new things. You just, it's kind of like rehearsal for a character in a film. No, you're not that character. You're not believable yet, but you're rehearsing it in your head. And it's also been said in rehearsal that mental rehearsal is more important than actual rehearsal. So it works the same way with yourself. You become a new person just by rehearsing the conditions that that person is in, that successful person or whoever you're focusing on, and by relating to them, you have to go inside these people. How are they driving to work? How do they talk to their spouse? How do they talk to their children? How are they talking to their affiliates at work? I mean, to get into the mind of successful people, that's what you have to do, because that's who you're going to become. And it takes a little bit of extradential, what do you call it? You got to be able to go into the minds of other people to become the minds of other people. That's what I would say.
Well, very well said, Mr. Mark. So let's talk about let's say, the other side, the energy recovery calculus. So maximum effort leads to burnout, not a maximum growth. How do you calculate and respect the balance between growth effort and strategic recovery? What are the signs you are tipping into depletion?
Discipline, is that the word you use at the end there? Discipline?
Yes, discipline.
Yeah, discipline. And if I understand your question properly, recovery, recovering from, say, some damage, some
Burnout.
self-esteem damage or burnout.
Mhm.
Burnout, thank you. um Boy, it's a tough one. And what do you mean by burnout exactly?
So How do you recover from maximum effort that leads you to burnout? Not
Mm.
a maximum growth itself. So how do you
No.
calculate and respect the balance between growth effort and strategic recovery?
Hmm. Hmm. Um, that's a pretty deep question. I would have to simulate that in my head. Uh, Burnout, being like, career burnt out, like after 40 years of, working the
Doing
same
everything,
career.
sir. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, well, I can only relate to my own personal experiences, and firing up a new project. It's always a new life for me. I just become that kid again, and become all inspired, and want the outcome to happen, no matter how difficult the project is. So all of a sudden, I forget that I'm burnt out in another field. That's one way of looking at it. And I've been burnt out from filmmaking as a director. It is exhausting work. It um, if you can get a feature film made, you've done the impossible. Even if it's a bad film, you've done the impossible. It's an hour and a half of one concept is really hard to do, and it's not anybody's fault. Nature's made it that hard. You're dealing with five different elements: writing, performing, music, film, and then it's a visual art. So it's the most comprehensive collective art form there is. So I got burned out on it, and you leave it for a while. Uh, you have to leave it for a while. It's kind of like you can't grow unless you leave it. And then
Mhm.
when you do make that growth and you come back to it, you're at the level that you thought you would never be. Kind of. It's like, wow, I never thought I would be here actually. But it's accumulative through the years. So if you don't want to get burnt out on your career, probably don't be a film director.
Don't be a film director, people.
it's it's tough. You gotta love your story. You have to really, really love your story. There's no doubt about it. And if you don't, that process will force you to, and it's all
So,
good.
yes.
Go ahead.
Well done, partner. Well done. So, to wrap up our discussion for today, in your view, what is the deepest form of freedom that becomes available to someone who has disciplined themselves in the practice of MCG? Is it
In the
freedom or
practice,
fear? Is it freedom from fear or from outdated identities or something else entirely?
that's a pretty deep question. So what you're saying is this a type of burnout again?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Just like, okay, so this is the deepest freedom that becomes available to someone who has a discipline themselves. I'm disciplined to do as a podcast host, so I'm burning myself like I'm doing
I
a
see.
podcast 25 episodes, or I'm doing what, more than 30 podcasts now, plus I will be doing Psychology 101. That will be my 25th podcast. Because I have a
You're,
discipline to do all those podcasts as well.
yeah, you're talking from personal experience. I can hear that now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got quite a load, and it's a production, and it's got writing, it's got audio, and it's a moving picture, and it's live. So you got a lot on your hands there. Um, I don't know. Only you would know how to really, keep yourself going in that situation. But I could say this: what is the big picture goal in the end? If
A
it's
big
a long,
picture. I like
yeah, the
that.
big picture, yeah, goal, because you can always just say, well, it's a long way away, but I just know it's there, and so you just have to go through the clouds until the year arrives that you're finally at that big, huge goal, and just trust it, and just it's like stuffing envelopes. You're going to do 1,000 in one day. It gets to be like that, yeah. But I mean, you get to meet so much neat people and neat careers and situations. That's got to be inspiring. to run into all these different people. But uh, let me talk about maximum conscious growth really quick.
Yes,
The
go ahead.
universe, yeah, the product that the entire universe is building is maximum conscious growth, and that means that in in the course of humanity, it will eventually leave Earth and live in space forever, growing to its maximum conscious growth, whatever that is, whatever those experiences are, and the layers of information that is the makeup of maximum conscious growth. That will go on for 3 trillion years until all the light burns out. And in the end, maximum conscious growth will become the unigalactic conscious harvest. In the end, maximum conscious growth. That's what it's all about.
It's all about people maximum conscious growth, and we relate to ourselves also. If we have this maximum conscious growth in ourselves, the same in the universe. So be curious,
Yes.
listen to yourself. What happening inside us, what happening around us is the same what happening to the universe. So, Mr. Mark, what a great
Hmm.
episode. So, would you please plug in something, plug in your book, please?
Oh, yes, it's a fungus theory of conscious growth. It's on Amazon, and you can go to my website as well, marklchristiansen.com. And there's a universe of things in there to go visit. And I hope you buy the book and learn about fungus theory.
Fungus Theory, people, available where books are sold. So, Mr. Mark, thank you so much for your time.
Daniel, thank you very much again. We'll see you again.
Yes, tune in next week, people. We have exciting and, well, different kind of topic for sure next week. Monica, people, see you soon.